Hey everybody, it's Justice for Comics. It is Tuesday. Yeah, I thought I'd do a quick video. I've got a nice book that I got in the mail that I bought over the weekend. A cool book. Definitely one of the books that I had on my list for this year. Didn't think I'd get it this early. I got such a good deal on it. Especially the grade. I mean, it's unbelievable grade. So I'll show that here in a minute. But I figured, it's Tuesday. I didn't smoke too much this weekend, so it's nice and chilly out right now. It's probably low 60s right now, high 50s, which is pretty cold. We got a cold front that came through over the weekend. So in Tampa here, it's a little colder than it's been for the last several weeks. And right now, they're definitely doing some land clearing nearby because there's a definite thick smoke in the air. So they're definitely burning. They're doing a controlled burn of some trees. So there's a lot of smoke in the air, but it smells good. It smells like a fireplace is going, So I don't know. It kind of puts me in the mood to have a drink and have a smoke when it smells like campfire and it's nice and cool out. Little windy, so that's why I always use the cigar lighter. You don't have to worry too much about wind. All right, who we got in the chat here? We've got Arcadia Love Comic Art. Cameron D, he's always in the house. Arcadia says in Siberia it's -3 Celsius. Yeah. Might be why there's not too many people living there. That could be one of the reasons. I tell you one thing about living in Florida. When you live in Florida a long time, man, your blood gets thin. Just I don't know. I can't really take cold weather. Like I'll go up north sometimes, and if it gets down in the 20s or 30s, I mean it's just like it's like painful. I just can't take it. So in Florida, the heat is the heat. I mean, you kind of get used to it. Summer times are a little brutal sometimes. It gets freaking humid, no doubt about it. So you trade one for the other. So you got extreme heat. It's very humid in the summertime, but in the wintertime, you don't have that biting cold, scraping ice off your car all the time, that kind of crap. You don't have to deal with that. So I don't know. I've lived in Florida long enough, man. I'll take the warm weather over. I'll take the hot, steamy heat over the biting cold any day. All right, Manny, the comic collector's in the house. What's up, Manny? It's always good to see him. Shelly, welcome, Shelly. I don't think I've seen you on the chats before. Welcome. Going to be talking comic books here in a minute. Show off a few books that I got in the mail. Oh, I'm sorry, Arcadia. Did you put Serbia? Oh, yeah. I said Siberia. Sorry, Serbia. That's a different area. Yeah, Siberia definitely is cold. It sounds like Serbia is pretty cold, too. Hope things are going well for you there, my friend. Arcadia says, yeah, my aunt is from Tampa. Cool. Well, there's a lot of people that live in Florida these days. They're doing a lot of construction. That's why there's this fire in the air. They're clearing land. There's all kinds of farmland that they're clearing and building house developments on around here. So you got to kind of get used to it. All right. Mark Knapp 68's in the house. What's going on, my friend? Cameron D. Lives in Wisconsin and Minnesota for 34 years. Now I live in Austin, Texas. I will never live in that cold weather again. Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. Forget the cold weather. I can't do it. I grew up as a kid in Ohio, and it would get pretty cold in Ohio. It definitely got freezing, a lot of snow. But I moved down to Florida when I was pretty young, so probably since the age of 7 or 8, I've been in Florida. So, like, I do remember the cold. I remember the snow and all that. And I've been back and forth. You know, still had family up there, but yeah. Enough about the weather, right, Malcolm? Malcolm's like, come on, man, get to today's topic. Stop talking about the damn weather. I'm with you. So I got in the mail today a Grail that I've been after for a long time. Well, I've been looking at the book for a while. Let's put it that way. I've been sort of tracking sales on eBay, sort of getting an idea of this book. I wanted a nice, raw, high-grade copy. I didn't want a graded copy. You're not going to get a really good deal on this book with a graded copy. A raw copy, you can. You can definitely fish out a deal. Of course, you're taking a risk, right? When you buy a raw copy, you don't know if it's been restored. You know, there could be things like that could be wrong with the book. There could be a page missing. I mean, things like that can happen. So it's good to review the sellers. So there's a couple sellers that I watch and I've bought books from in the past. And that has a lot to do with it, making sure you're buying from a very, very reputable seller. And yeah, a power seller helps, right? Somebody who's has very little to no negative feedback. That's always important. You know, somebody who's not just looking to sell one book and you don't see them again, right? Because then they could take advantage of it. And yeah, with eBay, you've got a lot of rights with eBay, right? You can return a book, get your money back. There's things like that. You have some protections as a buyer on eBay. One of the reasons I like to buy on eBay is because of that, versus like Instagram or something like that, where you know you better get to know the person really well if you're going to buy a book from them on Instagram, and you need to see evidence that they've been selling a lot of books. So the book I got in the mail today, and this is one of my grails for the year, so I'm very happy that I got this in the month of January, is Uncanny X-Men number 129. This is the first appearance of Emma Frost and Kitty Pryde. So 2 major appearances in this book. This is definitely a major key. This is from 1979, so it's an older book. Tough to find in really high grade. This one, I mean, if you look, I'll try to get as close as I can to this thing. Maybe one little blunting at the top there. No spine ticks at all in this book. No spine ticks. No, creases. All the corners are really nice and sharp. Just almost a flawless book. So the seller advertised it as a 9.6. I agree with him. I think it's a solid 9.6 book. If I sent this in for grading, I'm pretty sure it would grade at a 9.6. It's possible it could grade at a 9.4. I don't know. CGC these days, hell, who the hell knows, man? They'd probably give this a 9.8 sometimes. I mean, I've seen books come back graded 9.8 that I know aren't 9.8s. So, you know, who knows? It's just roll the dice. I'm not looking to get this graded mainly because I don't want to sell it. So the only reason, this is my personal opinion, I don't grade a book. I don't get a book graded unless I really am looking to just flip it and unload it and try to sell it. In my personal collection, you know, I've got a lot of high-end books. Most of them are raw. I've a couple of graded books. On instances where I've done that, it's mainly because I'm buying a really rare book, and that's the only thing I could do to get the book is to buy it graded. So I've done that a few times, but for the most part, so I'll tell you what I spent for this. The guy was asking $260 plus shipping. I threw out a couple offers to him, and we settled at $230. So for this grade, I mean, if you look at 9.6s on CGC graded 9.6s, this book easily sells that I would say that $500 to $600 range at that grade. So I don't know. Mentally, I feel like I got a really good deal. I bought a book for $230 that I'm fairly certain would grade at a 9.6. Obviously, if it graded at a 9.8, then you're talking $1,400 to $1,500 for this book, and 9.8. It's a huge jump from a 9.6 to a 9.8, a massive jump. So I wouldn't ever expect to get a 9.8 on a book that's raw. I think those are like unicorns. If they happen, it happens. But this is I love the beautiful. This is just a beautiful copy. I mean, it's a great key book to have in my collection. I don't have a lot of Uncanny X-Men's in my collection. I would still love to get a 101, first appearance of the Phoenix. I would still love to get a 94, 120. That's first Vindicator. I'd still love to get a first Alpha Flight. I mean, there's still a lot of Uncanny X-Men's I would love to get in my collection. But this one I feel is a good key to have in your collection. I mean, you got two major appearances in this book, Kitty Pryde and Emma Frost. Outside of Giant X-Men #1, I mean, this is a great book to have. Giant X-Men #1, I used to own that book in a 9.6. Obviously, regret ever getting rid of it because to afford that book today would cost me a small fortune. But you never know. One day I might be able to own it again. But this one I felt fairly affordable. I'm trying to buy good key books that are under $300 in as high grade as I can find. And I was looking at one other copy that was on sale on eBay. The guy was asking $200, and it's pretty close to this. I don't think it was a 9.6. I think it was really like a 9.4 to 9.2. It was still a really nice copy. It had no spine ticks. The only problem is on the bottom, it had some definite damage to the bottom of the corner. This one is just, I mean, if it wasn't for this little, I mean, if you can kind of see, there's a little bit of a flare there. I call them flares, where it's a tiny little imperfection in the corner. If it wasn't for this probably would be a 9.8 candidate. So, but I'm telling you, you could send a book like this into CGC and they might give it a 9.8. Who the hell knows? I've seen books with like non-color breaking spine ticks get 9.8. So this doesn't even have that. There are no spine ticks, no dents, nothing on this book. So it's very, very clean copy. Really, really happy to have that. So that was a major grail for me. Just couldn't wait to get that in the mail. I bought it over the weekend. The seller was really cool. He shipped it out right away. I mean, I think the same day I bought it, he got the label printed and got it ready for shipping. So very quick service. Just real happy with that book. So that was my comic book. That's my first grail of 2020. I probably have another 3 or 4 on my list that I'd like to get this year. So that's maybe one per quarter, right? Maybe at one every 3 or 4 months. That would be a good goal, to try to pick up one really important book. And they're going to be older books. I'm trying to focus on, Bronze Age if I can. Another book I got in the mail. I think I showed this on one of my last videos. I can't remember if I did or not. I got this in the mail. My good friend Esteban Salinas sent this to me. He didn't send it to me. I bought it off of Black Cape Comics. It's a Doll Island #1 exclusive Salinas variant, numbered out of 150. This is number 111. Just a cool story, cool looking cover. I mean, he's just a great digital artist. I love his artwork, so got that also recently, so I thought I'd show that one off. But that's kind of it. Just had a cool looking book. I was going to check the news just to see if there was anything in comic book news land that's worth mentioning. Usually I check CBR just to see if there's anything there. All right, there is a couple things here. Let me share my screen. So in the chat, we also got Gabriel Fonseca. Cameron D, of course, made the comic collector. Logan Torres, welcome, my friend. So let me share my screen here. This is the CBR website. So right off, headline is Falcon and Winter Soldier. They've got some spoilers here. Looks like a couple photos have been leaked. And you do have a photo of U.S. agent. I think that comic book, I think they talked about that a couple weeks ago on a couple of sites. I don't know if I have that on my collection or not. I'll have to look through and see if I have it. But looks like there is some news on that. Disney Plus, fall of 2020. Wyatt Russell was officially announced as portraying the character in August at the Marvel Studios presentation at the D23 Expo in Anaheim. So you do have some screenshots of him in the uniform. Looks pretty cool. So there's a link there from Thomas Polito on Twitter. So check out that article. That's definitely newsworthy. All right, I like that the Joker director is defending his film. That's cool. From the far left critics. Yeah, I mean, the far left has just gone out of control lately. The good news is you're seeing a lot of pushback. Not pushback from conservatives. You're seeing pushback from people that are on the left who consider themselves to be progressive, but who are finally going, this is nuts. Why the hell are we allowing this behavior to be considered normal? So good for that director, Todd Phillips. He's defending his movie. I think he should. I think it was a great movie. So the critics on the far left viewed it as noise. Much of it is noise. I'm sorry. The director dismissed most of the criticism as noise from the far left detractors. He recently elaborated on those comments as well as his stance on the depiction of violence and mental health in Joker. Phillips explained that the depiction of certain mental health issues as a contributing factor of violence was something that should not be ignored or denied. He said, how can you deny any of this? But to me, it's the same thing. Do we want to pretend that we're not failing as a human experiment? Do we want to pretend that these people don't exist? Phillips then questions the disadvantage of depicting such people on film and thus shining a light on the issue, asking, isn't that a good thing? Yeah, so the Joker's crazy. We all know that. There's crazy people in this world. I don't know what utopia people think they live in, but yeah, there's people that kill people for no reason whatsoever all the time. So I don't know. I don't know what the far left, I don't know what problem they had with the movie other than, movies have always been violent. I mean, it's, are they upset about the excess violent, or that they're complaining that you're making fun of somebody that has a mental issue or mental problem in your break? Well, people have mental problems and they commit violence. That's the way it is. So I don't know what the far left is complaining about there, but I'm glad to see the director is sort of stepping up and defending his movie. That's good. It's good to see that. Let's see. Netflix saw massive growth in 2019 despite increased competition. So Netflix still added close to 8.8 million subscribers in the fourth quarter. Man, that's amazing. So they're growing, obviously, internationally, where there's still a lot of growth. Today, I had a chance to watch some of that documentary on Aaron Hernandez. Man, that's an amazing documentary. Holy crap, that guy had some problems. But at the end of the documentary, I kind of felt bad for him. I mean, the media definitely just depicted him as this, absolute violent maniac, which he was. He was violent. But then you go into the story of his life and interviews of people that knew him and his family, and you kind of realize that, yeah, I mean, there are all kinds of reasons why people end up acting and behaving the way they behave. And a lot of it just, he had a poor family life to some degree. I think his mother was crazy. That probably isn't good. You notice a lot of these psychopaths or some of these guys that end up, or women too, but most of the time it's men. It's always if they have a really, really bad relationship with their mother, things can go off the rails pretty badly for that individual. So, man, I'd highly recommend it if you want to watch a really good documentary. It's compelling. And of course, concussions, that was the other thing at the end of it. They operated on his brain. They opened it up. He donated his brain to science, and or his family did rather. And of course, he had a diseased brain. He had a condition called CT, which is degenerative death of brain tissue near the frontal lobe. And yeah, it creates extreme violence, poor decision making. He wasn't going to live long anyways. So committing suicide, a lot of these guys, that's what they end up doing. They're just the massive concussions that you receive as a football player take their toll, no doubt about it. But, it doesn't justify his murderous rampage. But, what's interesting is that the double murder that he was tried for, he was found not guilty because the guy he was with was more than likely the killer because the guy he was hanging out with was a bad dude as well. So they couldn't get it. There wasn't enough evidence to really determine whether he was the one that pulled the trigger or the other guy. So I thought that was interesting. I would just watching the news, I just thought, oh yeah, he killed 3 people, but that's not necessarily true. He definitely killed at least one guy. I'm pretty sure the guy that he did get convicted for, I'm pretty sure he killed him. There's a lot of evidence to that. All right, what do we got here? I got some comments here on the chat. I don't know. There's something going on between Justin and Logan. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, there are a lot of sellers that definitely don't package their books properly. I've run into that a few times. I have definitely had more positive experiences on eBay than negative, and I buy a lot of books on eBay. I probably in a month, I probably buy at least a half a dozen books on eBay per month. So a span of 6 months, I'll easily have 50 or 60 books that I've purchased on eBay. And out of that 50 or 60 books, I might get one out of that's not packaged well. Maybe there was some damage from shipping, something like that happens. So it's very low occurrence for me. At least that's been my experience. But yeah, you could buy a couple things on eBay and right away have a bad experience. I mean, the odds don't preclude that from happening. But yeah, your LCS, I mean, the nice thing about buying at a local comic book shop is you can see the book right away. You're looking at it, you're observing it. You don't have to worry about it being shipped. Sometimes you can negotiate a better deal with the seller, especially if you have cash. A lot of businesses like to get cash instead of using a credit card, things like that. So there are some advantages definitely to using a local comic book shop. Problem is a lot of local comic book shops, depends on where you live. Where I live, there's not a lot of comic book shops near me, and the ones that are near me, dude, I never could get a deal. I mean, just once in a blue moon, I'll find a deal at a local comic book shop near me, but most of the time, if there's a book I really want and I happen to find a shop that has that book, they usually want a lot higher price than I could find on eBay, and they don't want to negotiate at all. That's been my experience. So, everybody's experience is different, and it definitely depends on where you live and the if you find a great local comic book shop with a good shop owner that's willing to deal with you, and definitely if you're buying a lot of your books from that person, that definitely is a factor, right? Where I live, I don't have a local comic book shop really close to me. The closest one is probably 35 minutes away. So it's not practical for me to use a local comic book shop just because it's not convenient. If there was one 5 to 10 minutes away, I would definitely use the services of a local comic book shop more often. But where I live, it's just not possible. And, I've just been buying most of my books I buy through Midtown. I've had good experiences with them. I've gotten books damaged from them. And every time, like I just got Hulk 180, the facsimile from them, and it was damaged, terribly damaged. I mean, it's like somebody stepped on it on the front and back. It wasn't torn or anything, but it definitely had all kinds of creases, just it looked like somebody stepped on it. So I took a picture of it and I emailed it to Midtown, and they refunded me. They refunded me the money, and obviously they had a problem with that book because they didn't offer to ship me another one. They basically just said, "Hey, we'll refund you." And I mentioned it, I think on my last stream, and one of the subscribers said, "Yeah, all the Midtown copies were damaged." So I guess this guy lives in Midtown Manhattan, and he said he went there and all the copies were damaged of Hulk 180 facsimile. So I'm probably going to have to either buy that off eBay or if I have some time, maybe I can go to an LCS. I mean, again, the closest one is 35 minutes away. So I might have to drive and see if I can find one. But that is a book that I would like to have in my collection in better condition than I have now, because the one I have now, I just consider it a reader copy, right? So I would like to have it in a nice high grade. I don't know, facsimiles, are they going to be worth money in the future? I don't know. I mean, what's the first reprint of Action comic books worth, right? It's worth a little bit of money. So I would say if it's a legitimate first reprint of a major key issue 20, 30 years from now, yeah, there's probably going to be some value to those books. It is still a reprint. It's never going to be worth as much as the first original printing. But it's still cool to have in your collection. You don't have to pull out the original. You can pull out your reprint copy if you want to read it. There's a lot of advantages to having these facsimiles. And I like that they're exact copies. I mean, the ads, every page is an exact representation of what the original book would have looked like. So I like that. Of course, it's on glossy paper. It's not on the cheap newspaper print paper that they had back in the day. But it's still nice to have those reprints. All right. CBR, was there anything else in here that I thought was worth taking a look at? Let me check Bleeding Cool real quick. I don't go on Bleeding Cool that often, but I think it might be worth taking a look and see. Sometimes they'll have an article on there that's interesting. I guess the Comics Code censors push the limits as Vampirilla visits a nude beach in Vampirilla number 7. That issue might be worth picking up. Let's see here. Folklords gets a 4th printing. That book's been pretty hot. Let's see what else here in the news. So Deceased, that one shot came out. Marvel Zombies Resurrection. In April. Was that a reprint or a reissuance of that? I don't know. Let's see here what it says. That was a cool issue. It was kind of a cool concept that they used Galactus's body as a way to hide themselves. I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know what this article's saying here. I guess maybe they're doing a regular series come April. I know they had that one shot in October, but it looks like this is the Inhook Lee cover that's coming in April, which looks pretty cool. I like that. Hey everybody, I'm back. I don't know what happened there. Probably Bleeding Cool's website, like it just logged me off my computer or something. I don't know what the heck happened. So it looks like I'm back on live. I came inside because it's free. I'm freezing my butt off outside. Couldn't take it anymore. I was starting to shiver, so I was like, I better come inside. So let me get back to the chat here. I know I've been ignoring it a little bit here. Perry's Comics is in the house. What's going on, Perry? We got Marcus is in the house. Marcus, I just showed my, let me grab it here. I was just showing at the beginning of the live stream, I just showed everybody my Uncanny X-Men number 129. Came in beautiful, beautiful shape. And Marcus brought this to my attention. I kind of consulted with him as I was buying this. But here in the corner, so I guess in the early 70s, the newsprint would just have this UPC code, and the direct editions had this line. You can see this line going through it. The line going through that denotes this was a direct copy edition that went directly to a LCS. So in 1979, apparently the direct editions are a little bit more rare than the newsstands. I know mid 80s, 84, 85, you started to see a lot more comic books sold in comic book shops and less sold on newsstands. So definitely by the 90s, newsstands were a lot more rare. But 1979, believe it or not, the direct editions were far more rare than the newsstands. So, yeah, 1979. So this would have been a very, very early example of a direct edition to a comic book shop, which was not the most common way comic books were delivered back at that time. So yeah, it's interesting. I didn't really know that. I mean, I guess I always knew that the direct editions either didn't have the UPC, usually had like Spider-Man's face or something like that. I was not aware that the line through the UPC code usually denoted that was sold directly to a comic book shop. So, it's just a kind of a cool little thing. I don't know if people are willing to pay more for the direct from that period of time. I don't see a huge difference in sales for direct versus newsstand, but perhaps it makes it a little bit more rare. Marcus has a question for the community. Does anyone know what is hot about the latest Ghost Rider number 4? 4 copies showed up in the mail today, and I can't remember why, but I think it's the first appearance of Donnie Ketch as he's called something else now. Dang it. I think he's the first Ghost Rider. I can't remember. There's a different name for him now. So he's changed from a Ghost Rider to something else, and I believe that's his first appearance. Man, I thought I had it at one time. I'll have to look it up, but maybe somebody in the chat can illuminate us on that. But I think that's the reason why. So it is a kind of a minor key, I suppose, if you're a Ghost Rider fan. Comic Book Genius says, hey, what's the news on Batman Beyond number 40? I think you've got Blight, which is not his first appearance, but he's the return of Blight. Full return of Blight is in that issue. And I think it's also revealed that the Batwoman character that appeared in issue 37, it's confirmed that she is the daughter of Dick Grayson, right? So I believe that's confirmed now in issue number 40. So that comes out on Wednesday, tomorrow. I did make sure I did grab the A cover on Midtown, so I should have that coming in my next order. But I believe that's the reason for it. So I don't think the book's blowing up. I mean, I looked at the other day and it was still available on Midtown. So I don't think it's making the book all that hot at the moment. Logan says, I'm collecting Something is Killing the Children. Once in future Avengers, Red Mother, Spider-Man, Thor, and Venom. So I'm collecting most of those. I'm not collecting Avengers or Spider-Man, but all the rest I'm collecting. I like Red Mother. I love Something is Killing the Children. I thought that was pretty good. Once in Future has been great. I'm willing to give Thor a try. I think Donny Cates usually does a good job. And Venom, that's been a consistent buy of mine as well. I'm not a big fan of Amazing Spider-Man. I try to get into it. I bought the first few issues. I don't know. Maybe it's Nick Spencer. I'm just not into his take on Spider-Man. Just not a book that I tried reading it a few times and I just didn't care for it. So I ended up dropping it. And Avengers, I've been buying it off and on. It hasn't been that great to me, the Avengers, but I might be in the minority on that. Marcus says the price area is a triangle also, which is different. All right, there you go. So I learned a lot from Marcus. He knows a lot about comic books. So if this is a triangle, that also denotes it's a direct edition. Versus what is it? Is it a box for the newsstand? I'll have to look and see. It's probably a square then for the newsstand. But that's also another key indicator, I guess. Marcus is saying is that if it's in this diamond shape, that also denotes it's a direct edition. Very cool. Logan says Ghost Rider 4 introduces Pilot 1 into the MCU. Okay. I haven't read that book yet, so I'll have to take a look at it when I get it. But I knew there was some key to it, that's for sure. All right. Yeah, I was showing off Bleeding Cool. I think that's the problem why my computer flipped out on me there. Bleeding Cool is a good site to go on if you can use a browser that doesn't allow pop-ups. So if you go on Chrome or Safari, I mean, it just shut down my computer. I mean, it had to be because of Bleeding Cool. So usually if you're going to go on that site, I recommend using a browser called Brave. Brave will not allow any pop-ups. So if you need to go on an application that requires a pop-up, don't use Brave because it won't work. But for sites like Bleeding Cool, where they just throw all kinds of ads at you, it's definitely the way to go. I think that was it, guys. I'm going to check CBR for one other thing because I don't know if I looked at all the articles. I looked under general news. I didn't look under comic book news. Oh, yeah, this is a book that I pre-ordered. Let me share that with you guys. I think I pre-ordered this. I think it's for March. Archangel 8. Really cool cover. I bought this because of the cover. I just think the cover looks awesome. But that one could be a really good one. So it's Hellblazer meets Punisher is kind of how it's billed. Yeah, March 18th. So the pre-orders, I think the pre-orders on this are done. I did pre-order this for March. Yeah, there's the cover. Man, that looks cool. I just love that cover. So yeah, it's like Punisher meets Hellblazer. That's pretty cool. So that for I don't know why I just thought, man, I looked at that cover. I was like, oh, I got to get that. I don't even care if the story's good. I just really like the cover. But it sounds like the story could be really good. In a world beyond the sight of mortals, heaven and hell wage war for the souls of mankind. Principal among God's legion are 7 archangels written about in religious texts for millennia, but there is an 8th angel known only from passing allusions in Apocrypha, who operates under a different code. Fighting without God's sanction, he faces the enemy on his own terms and shows just how good bad can be. Very nice. So I like the premise of it. It sounds really cool. So I got a feeling that book is going to be a hot book. I don't know, just a feeling. So you got Michael Morrissey. Morrissey looks like the writer. Colorist is C.P. Smith. Or I'm sorry, artist is C.P. Smith and colorist is Snakebite Cortez. I love that name, Snakebite. His name is Snakebite Cortez. Awesome. I mean, I love the coloring on that cover. It's freaking awesome. So make sure you pick this up March 18th. I did pre-order a copy. I might actually buy an extra copy. I just love that cover. It's really cool. I think that could be a hot book though. And AWA is the publisher, so I don't think they're not very well known, I don't believe. Is AWA, is that who it is? Yeah, AWA. Oh, they give you a little preview of the interior artwork. Looks pretty cool. Looks nice and gritty. Yeah, that could be really good. I like the look of that book. So make note of that, everybody. Archangel number 8, or Archangel 8 number 1. That's going to be a good book. I think that's worth taking a look at. I don't think that is that. I'm going to just check real quick and see if that's still available for pre-orders. Let's see if the pre-orders are still available. Yeah, I think you can still pre-order that book. If I go under Independence, see if it's still available. Yeah, it's still available for pre-order on Midtown's website, 35% off. So you can pick that up right now for $2.59. I might actually buy another copy of that. That's what's nice about Midtown is you can add to your order, and they don't charge you extra for shipping. They'll just, when the book comes in, they just add it to your order. So you just have to pay for it in advance. That's all. So that's cool looking book. I think I'm going to pick up maybe another copy of that. That might be worth having at least a couple copies of. All right. Yeah, Cameron D says that sounds like an interesting premise. I agree. I don't know, it looks pretty good. I'm going to give it a try. Maybe that'll be a hit. It's only a 5-issue miniseries, so you know, who knows if it does well enough, they might turn that into an ongoing. You know, that happens a lot of times with comic books. I know Kanto was a big hit for IDW, and that's going to be an ongoing this coming year. So, you know, if there's enough people buying it and it gets enough attention, you know, it's a lot of times what a comic book's supposed to do. They'll come out with maybe a 5-issue run, 6-issue run. If it does well enough, they'll bring the character back and it becomes an ongoing series. So that happens all the time. All right, guys, that was kind of it. I just wanted to highlight a few things that are in the news that are kind of worth taking a look at. So here's some news on Comic-Con. Doomsday Clock number 12 and X-Men number 3 sold over 100,000 copies in December. That's pretty big. That's a lot. I mean, if you're over 100,000 in sales in a month, you're doing pretty well. So both those books did really well. Good for DC and Marvel. Very good. I should do another video on just Comic-Con sales. That might be a good one to do. I'm sure the December numbers are all out, so I should probably do that. All right, guys, that's kind of all I had. I'm going to be grabbing dinner here in a little bit, so appreciate everybody who tuned in to the live stream. Again, I want to just kind of show off that X-Men number 129, just one of the keys that I wanted to pick up this year, and I was really happy to get it. Marcus, thank you so much for kind of helping me in determining which one I should get. He was sort of helping me track down this particular issue, so appreciate his help on that, especially not knowing about the direct versus newsstand. So glad to have a copy that's a tad more rare, which is cool. All right, guys, I hope you have a great evening. Look for my new comic book video tomorrow. I'll be highlighting books that are coming out the following Wednesday, so it's kind of an early preview of those books, what I'm looking at picking up. So you'll have that in the afternoon tomorrow, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a good evening.